Hi, y'all. I'm just sitting here crocheting an ear warmer. And you know how when you're working on something that's kind of tedious, but it's relaxing, and your mind just thinks of all kinds of things. You're not distracted by a TV or a radio or anything. It's nice and quiet here, and I just got to thinking about one thing and another, and then next thing you know, I was thinking about my mom. I told y'all in another video that my mom deserted our family when I was around, I don't know, 4.5 years old, maybe 4.5, 5, between 4.5, 5 years old, I think. But anyway, she always cussed my dad and made him out to be the bad guy. And Dad had his faults. He wasn't perfect. Nobody is. But it was always like she was perfect, and other people were always the ones at fault, and she was always the victim. Yeah, I think my mom was a narcissist. I think she was a covert narcissist. I do believe she was, because a lot of times she tried to manipulate people. I saw her say and do things to manipulate people. She did that a lot. But over the years, whenever I'd see her, I'd notice those things. But my dad, he never tried to keep me from Mom. And he would always take me to see her. Like, it wasn't super often, about once a year. Like, when I started school, and let's see, all through grade school and up, every year when we'd be out of school for summer vacation, he'd take me to see Mom. He'd take me, and of course I'd take some clothes with me and all, because I wouldn't be just run up there and visit a few hours, because wherever she's living, because she lived far away from us. She lived across the state most of the time, just lived across the state, a few hundred miles. But Dad would take me just to visit her, and he'd say, stay as long as you want to. And when you get ready to come home, just call me and I'll come and get you. And so, Dad was good like that, but she never gave him credit or thanks for that. She just hated his guts. And that's typical of a narcissist, to hate somebody, even if they hadn't done much of anything to them. You just hate somebody's guts. Made him out to be the bad guy. He wasn't a bad guy. Anyway, during the time that I stayed with her, she always found things for me to do to keep me distracted from her, because she didn't want to be bothered with me. She didn't want to be bothered with me. She would give me toys to play with and books to look at, and one time, when she was living in Kansas, she ran off to Kansas with some guy. I was in grade school. And Dad drove me all the way to Kansas to see her. Took me up there. He didn't have to do that, but he did. you know. And they had some kind of a thing going over there for kids. I don't know what it was. It was nearby, within walking distance of where Mom was living. And I remember we did crafts, and we was doing I guess it was plaster of Paris, where they made the molds of these different shapes, things that when they was molded and dried and all that, then you'd paint them, and you could hang them on the wall. They would have a little wire thing inserted in the back of them while the plaster was still malleable. So after it dried and all, that little hanger would still be stuck in the back of it. And some of y'all are old enough, you remember those things. And so we would paint those, and they'd let us have them and take them home. And I remember I enjoyed doing that. And I would still enjoy doing that. And I haven't done it since then. That was something I really enjoyed doing. But the point is, she would get me into anything to keep me occupied, to where I wouldn't be a bother to her. Me and her, we never spent quality time together. Never did. She never asked me questions about school and my teachers, my friends, nothing. Nothing. She was always busy somehow. Even though she was a housewife, she wasn't working. The guy she was living with let her stay home and be a housewife. But I remember being so frustrated because she wouldn't spend time with me. She'd always tell me, go outside and play, go outside and play. And so after a couple of weeks of that, I'd get tired of it, and I'd get homesick, and I'd get to missing Dad. So I'd tell her, Mama, I want to go home. Okay. So she'd call him up, say, here, hand me the phone. You know, she didn't hesitate. And so I'd call him, say, Daddy, I'm ready to come home. Okay, he'd say. And he'd be there as soon as he could get there. He didn't hesitate. He didn't say, well, I'll be there in a couple of days. Would I get a day off from work or anything like that? He'd take off from work. It'd be in the middle of the week. And my dad was a very diligent worker, employee. Very diligent. But he would take off work, and he'd be there to get me within hours. And he drove all the way to Kansas and got me. He got me the very next day. He drove all night. And he went and got me the very next day. That's how Dad was. He didn't hesitate, because Dad wanted me. He wasn't the best dad in the world. You know, he had his problems. And later on in life, I came to understand the problems that Dad had. I came to understand that Dad was a whole lot like me. A whole lot like me. Well, I can understand him because I'm a whole lot like him. I understand why he felt the way he did, and for most of my life I didn't understand, but as I got older I began to realize. But Dad loved us. Me and my brothers, he loved us. He wanted us. You know, most of the time he was a single dad, and that wasn't easy for him. But he didn't just say, here, drive us over to wherever Mom was, here, take these kids. No. He kept us because he wanted us. This is something, a memory of having you sitting here remembering that. I just wanted to share it with you. So I miss my dad so much. I miss him a lot. I dreamed about him last night. I miss my dad so much I can't hardly stand it. Well, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk to y'all about. See my ear warmer. Ooh, I almost dropped my hook. My ear warmer. Okay, y'all, I'll talk to you later. Bye.